Hi, everybody. This is Kirk Davis with Mark Evans from Xemelgo. Now, Mark, you weren't always with Xemelgo, but I appreciate the fact that you have taken a 30-year career in manufacturing and you brought that to a relatively new startup, Xemelgo. And I think it'd be really good for everybody to kind of get to know you and your background a little bit. I mean, 30 years is significant, but you rose to the level of a production manager. So you've had a very interesting career.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. Thank you for having me. Um, I've been in like a lot of manufacturing jobs throughout the years, and mostly with staying with the graphic arts industry as well. I started out with paper and business card and envelope printing, and then I moved into T-shirt printing.
Mm.
And when I started with GM nameplate, that was going to flat stock printing. Um, so yeah, I've kind of been, worked my way up in printing all these years. When I started with GM, they had just gotten the contract from Boeing, and they had a big hiring spree. And I started out as a shop floor printer. And over the years, I worked up to a lead, and then a supervisor, and then finally the production manager.
Wow. It's a real credit to you, but I always like to emphasize that manufacturing is a career. It's not just a job, but it's a place where you can grow and improve your career, improve your income, and improve your quality of life. So it sounds like
Absolutely.
manufacturing is provided for you.
I agree. Yeah, I very much believe in that.
Yeah, and we were in some kind of a meeting or an event, a camps related event, but you mentioned some concepts of uh, flow, time, and knowing, and it just really struck me. But I'll mention that you have taken your career from GM nameplate now to Xemelgo, relatively new startup and an exciting startup, I think, a pioneer in this field of industry 4.0. Could you talk about your experience going from GM nameplate to Xemelgo?
So a few years ago, when they were when they were thinking about starting a business, they were still with Hitachi, and they approached me and they asked if we were to start like an industry 4.0 type company, what is it that manufacturers would want to see in such an offering? And so what we talked about basically is when you have your cell phone and you could just sit on the couch and take care of all your banking, and you can order food, and the apps are simple and easy to use. You don't need an instruction book. It's easy to figure out. And so the premise was basically, why can't my life at work be that easy? And that's kind of how we got started with them.
Amazing. I love that whole concept. And Xemelgo is hitting home runs, I think, just making our work life as easy as those, jobs that you just talked about. We can do our banking. We can, there's so much we can do from our phones now. And now you're bringing that into the workplace.
Yeah, they've done an amazing job of translating, those thoughts into reality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I was really excited when you mentioned flow, time, and knowing. And so I thought it would be helpful for everybody to get to know you and to get to know Xemelgo and camps a little bit, because we help each other out. But this is a great example of helping the community. So, Mark, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and start us on this journey?
Sure. So how I arrived at these three important, concepts are a few months back, we did a presentation with, the rest of the Xemelgo team, and, there's different portions of it, but they asked me if you distilled down the three most important production concepts that are also supported by what we do at Xemelgo, what would those be? And I kind of thought about it for a while, and these are pretty much the three that I can think of that are really powerful and easy to get into, and can take you far.
That's wonderful.
So now flow, this is a great slide about flow. I like this one a lot. It's really, a concept of, you got to think about it like water. Okay. Um, uh, what we're looking to do is always continuously, we want the flow to be continuous and uninterrupted and have an even flow. And this is a forever project. It never stops. And this is a good slide to help you visualize what that looks like. This is kind of based on Taiichi Ono talked about the TPS as a river flow system. And when you think about how rivers work, the tributaries flowing in and the main body of the water and the things that can get in the way, this is a really good way to think about production as well. And so we want to be able to remove these barriers that are in our way. So these are like your rocks at the bottom of the river. And these are, the obstacles that are getting in the way of your good flow and production. And the water level is the WIP. And so we use WIP in manufacturing to help us hide or get over all these obstacles. If we can lower or reduce these obstacles, then we can lower the WIP and therefore make things flow faster. So this is really good to get your brain thinking in this way to help you get the flow, going in your manufacturing facility. And just like this diagram shows, the taller mountains are the ones you want to go for first. So this change over time and then machine breakdown, you want to bring those down first, and then you can bring your WIP down and then tackle all these other problems as well.
So Mark, you're talking more specifically about WIP inventory level. Is that kind of what you're trying to bring down is the WIP inventory level?
Right, because the more higher that is, then the slower things move through your system.
I see.
It's hard or sometimes even impossible to bring it down completely. But this is the continuous struggles to always keep trying to solve all these problems, make these rocks go away, and make your flow faster and better.
And as a result, though, the overall throughput, you're going to see higher productivity with less cost and probably improved lead times. So, it's interesting to think what this looks like at the end.
Correct. Yeah. You improve the velocity of things going to the back end when you can reduce these obstacles that are in your way.
Excellent.
And so we're in the boat here. So that we want to make it easier ride for all of us. And a good way to visualize this when it's ideal and perfect is like at a water park and the water slide, and there's a thin layer of water racing down the slide, and there's nothing in the way, and so it's moving effortlessly and
no interruptions and
no interruptions. Yep.
Yeah. I can see where the rocks titles on these rocks are the typical things that you would experience that would be an interruption on the flow.
Absolutely. So time is the next concept we want to talk about. This slide here, a lot of people share this on LinkedIn. I think I got this one from Adam Livesay.
Oh yeah.
So it's what it's showing is the power of compounding, and it's important to understand the extreme value of time in a manufacturing environment. So what we're looking at here is, you can see if you do the same thing all year long, then what you're going to get is the same thing. But yet, if you just do 0.01 better for the year, this is what you get, and it's a big difference.
There you go.
And it's like compound interest in your 401k. Like a lot of people save money in their 401k and they don't look at it like, maybe once or twice a year or whatever. But then one day you look at it and you say, wow, I never imagined I would have that much money in my life. and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And so that's that power of compound interest, same as the 401k.
I like that compound, compound improvements essentially.
Correct. So yeah, this is how your small efforts of CI will build up and amaze you over time. Earlier this week, we were at the Aerospace Futures Alliance, and one of the speakers, I forget who it was, they said the two most powerful forces in this world are compound interest and the status quo.
Oh,
I thought that was pretty good,
yeah,
because those are kind of like the two opposites. So with you get the compound interest is right here, and it shows you what it can do, but the other force that's fighting against it is status quo.
Oh, absolutely. I really like that saying.
Yeah. This is a slide I ran into a few years ago. I really love this thing. There's a lot going on here, actually.
Yeah.
At first glance, it seems like something, but there's quite a bit going on if you think about it. In a way, the slide speaks for itself, but you know, you see these guys, these are the workers, and they're doing their job, and they're trying to get the production out to the customer, and they're under pressure to do this. And then the manager saying, hey, you know, if we could just stop for a second and switch to these wheels, we could make everybody's life better and faster.
Yeah.
But and then, you know, at first glance, people look at this slide and they think, oh, well, it's showing that the workers aren't interested in improvement. But you got to look at it from their perspective. And you know, the shop floor employees, their mission is to get that stuff through to the customer. That's what they're trying to do. And they, you know, anything that stops them from doing that, they're really dedicated. And anything that stops them from doing that is tough, because, you know, that's where they get their pride, is by delivering on time.
Mark, isn't this kind of the culture war? And meaning I'm trying to get the job done you told me to do, and I'm doing it with the tools and the processes you've given me. And so in the slide, like you said, there's a lot going on here. When they say we're too busy, it's because they have deadlines to meet. So
right.
It's not that they're bad people, or not that they don't want to improve, but they literally are just trying to get the work done that they're responsible for. And maybe what the new suggestion or new idea looks like an interruption to their day.
Right, exactly. That's the struggle. But as the manager, you need to socialize to the team that this is important, and every time we stop and do this, we get better and we struggle less. And that's what it's all about, to struggle less.
I like that.
So knowing, this is a very important thing. We always want to know and not guess. Production managers often go by intuition, and you know, there's nothing wrong with intuition, but if we you know, we can build better intuition by confirming, you know, what we think is the case with facts and data as well.
Mark, I don't know if you were, we just had our camps conference yesterday, and we had a speaker, and I don't know if you were in there, but he talked about, it was Aquila. Oh, Aquila was interviewing him.
Dan Hawkins.
Yeah, Dan Hawkins. And,
yep.
And the question was asked, like, when you started actually getting information, were there any surprises for you? And he said almost everything was a surprise, because I thought I knew what was going on. I thought I knew the best SKUs, the best products, I knew the best processes. And when you start to actually know versus guess, there's quite a few surprises there.
I totally agree. Like I said, it's typical for a manager to go by intuition, and you know, they have good reason for this, because they have that experience and they've been around for a while, and they've seen a lot of things. So when a problem pops up, they pretty much think that they know what the reason is, and sometimes they react immediately, and that's fine. But when you do do the work of finding out for sure and matching it with facts and data, sometimes you find you're right. Sometimes you find there was an aspect of it you didn't quite understand. And the more, obviously, the more you know, the more you can build up that intuition into what is really correct.
I love that. That's good. That it's good and it's hard, but I think it's hard to get to. You know, Dan pointed out you kind of start to ask questions, and then you got to figure out if you're guessing or if you actually know the answer. And a lot of times the answer is we are guessing.
Right. Here's a good slide I saw. I pulled this off the Google, and it's probably from a chiropractor or something. But again, when you go to the chiropractor and there's something wrong with you, they can, kind of guess what's going on. And but you do obviously want to do that X-ray and make sure you know what's going on. So this is kind of a good illustration for that as well. We want to go by math and science, and like you said, one of the things Dan mentioned yesterday is we're all full of bias.
Yeah.
And he's totally right about that.
Well, he was mentioning that sometimes you think that the best workers, because everybody else says they're the best worker, signs point to this person being the best worker. But when you do the numbers or look at the X-ray, so to speak, you find out that this quiet person who just does their work, doesn't say much, is actually your better worker. And so, again, it's easy to get ideas that may not be 100% accurate.
Exactly. And that's not good. You want to become more and more accurate and correct with your knowledge all the time, and make your decisions based off of things that are correct.
Yeah. That's the way to win.
Exactly. So yeah, we always want to back up what we think is right with what is right.
It reminds me of Reagan's famous saying, "Trust but verify."
Exactly. Same thing. Yep.
Yeah.
So here we are with Masaki Amai. So forever doing more with less is the name of the game. That's what we're trying to do. One of the things I'm most proud of in my time as a production manager is that over the 20 years that I was there, we did this aerospace business with a crew of about 50 people. And, over the years, the business grew, and eventually, revenue doubled and then tripled. And at the end of that 20 years, we were still doing that aerospace business with the same 50 people, basically.
Wow. But this is real productivity, right? Real productivity is the ability to do more with less. So
exactly. And
that's remarkable.
It goes back to that compound interest slide where that's where you can see the effects of what you've done, and how it's manifested in that savings of having to hire more people.
A status quo approach without improvement would have meant that you probably had a staff of 150 or 300 people. It's as the work grew, the number of people would grow, but you prove the point of compound interest or continuous improvement, and that is you could handle a much larger volume with the same number of people. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, I like that as a proof that this stuff works. This is a great slide. Of course, I screen captured this from a Paul Akers video. Everyone who's in manufacturing and lean probably knows about this guy. What we're seeing here is that okay, you have these two sections of pipe here that are exactly the same size as this one, and these two sections of pipe that are exactly the same as this one. So what you're looking at is it's the same material, but it's organized differently. Here we have low continuous improvement and low respect for people and a lot of waste. And in this model, we have high continuous improvement and high respect for people and a little bit of waste. And so you can achieve these vastly different results just by, doing something different with the same material.
Just from your experience, Mark, you talked about respect for people, but what's been your experience in terms of that respect for people? That seems critical.
It's very critical. What respect for people is, people, the first thing people think about is, well, it's being nice to people and treating them well and all that kind of stuff. And of course it is. But it's also a belief that the people who are working for you are the ones that really know what's going on, and you take advantage of that, and you really elevate those people that are really doing the work and saying, I want your ideas, I want you to help me improve. And that's where the real respect for people comes in, is where you're absolutely utilizing to the best of your ability the ideas of the people on the shop floor, and elevating those ideas and incorporating them into your production.
Very important role of a manager and leader, I believe, is elevating the people, promoting the people, elevating them and their ideas. But I can't even name the number of companies I've seen where that is not the case. And
Yeah,
people are ignored, and then because nobody's listening, nobody's elevating their ideas, they stop giving those ideas, and they just come in and punch a clock. And so anyway, I think that's a big opportunity for culture improvement too.
it's huge. Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, I was going to talk about, how can what we do at Xemelgo support these concepts of flow, time, and knowing. So for flow, we give alerts and awareness around your work orders, your inventory, and your assets and your shipments. And these things will help improve flow by having that knowledge available to you in real time. For time, we automate the transactions, and so it keeps the employees, busy with their work, instead of interrupted to go to a computer and do transactions. Or often a lot of companies will use a barcode system, and the employees have to stop work and go do a transaction in the barcode system. With what we do, that all happens automatically.
Yeah.
And then people can stay at their jobs. One guy I worked with at Boeing, he did Kaizens with us, and he gave a really good example. So he said, you should consider the people doing production like a surgeon. So if you're getting surgery, you don't want your surgeon leaving the patient to go in the next room, get a scalpel, go get this, go get that. They always have someone handing them something. So the idea is you always want to keep the surgeon at the patient. Same with the production worker. Always keep the production worker at the machine making parts, and bring everything to them so that they can accomplish that task.
It seems very common sense, but may not always be common sense.
Exactly. And also, as far as time, we can give valuable insights into how time is actually spent.
Yeah.
Which can, be the basis of improvement. And then knowing, Xemelgo provides facts and data accumulating in real time, which is, super valuable.
Yeah. So I wanted to just share with people this idea that probably what I'm guessing is happening with the Xemelgo implementation. So one of the things about the Xemelgo implementation, I understand, is it happens pretty fast. I mean, we're not talking weeks or months to implement a solution. How quickly do these go?
People are amazed. I mean, including me. Yeah, I've seen them happen in under 2 hours.
Oh my goodness, geez.
They literally just walk in, mount a few readers, connect to Wi-Fi, and we download the app, and give a quick spin around the block with, this is how you use the app, and then hand them a roll of tags, and they start tagging up the items that they want to track, and the rest is taken care of, and that's it.
A big part of this is eliminating paperwork, right?
Right.
So things that you would normally track on paper are now being tracked digitally through your app, and this is all done through connection to the cloud and tracking that's happening right on the factory floor. What's interesting to me is that if you don't get deep into the technology, but more deep into what it does for the customer, how would you characterize the changes you've seen for the customers?
It automates things that were clunky before. You know, there's a lot of time spent in manufacturing trying to find stuff, trying to find work orders, trying to find inventory, trying to find out if this actually made it to this area or not. And I can tell you, as a production manager, I was like walking around a lot, putting a lot of miles. I had a Fitbit with, that measure the steps, how many steps you make every day. And yeah, there's a lot of legwork. You just walk, okay, I got to go down to this area and see if that's there. I got to go here. I got to go see if that's there. I got to go talk to this person and see if that's there, if it made it on time, if it's going to make it on time. That's what this is good for. It automates all this stuff and brings it right to you on your phone.
Well, and this goes back to knowing, right? And that is answering questions that may not have been easy to get the answers to before, but now there's, but what's nice is you're not deluging people with just data that they have to figure out. You're actually using algorithms, I believe, that help sort out what's important, what's not.
Yeah, correct. After someone has used Xemelgo for a while, I would say, it depends on the business, but typically after about 3 to 6 months, you're going to have enough transactions built up to where you could start looking at those transactions and what's the variation between those transactions. And you could start to predict how long things should take, or you could find outliers of, oh, wow, this took twice as long as it normally does, and why is that? And then that's where you start to get those insights that are helpful to solve problems, that occur and that you don't want to occur.
Mark, have you ever had the experience, I don't know if in your history, had the experience of actually using a stopwatch to time certain processes? And
Absolutely.
so yeah. As I worked with manufacturers over my career, I would come across the production manager that would be there with a stopwatch and watching how things work, and ask questions like, this one took 15 minutes longer. Why is that? Well, somebody didn't show up on time, and I mean, the answer is, like you said, there's so many things that interrupt operations, but like the surgeon, you want to keep them at the machine, you want to keep them at the patient. You don't want them looking around, taking away valuable production time to do non-necessary things, which is all part of lean, of course.
Right. So yeah, I've totally done that with the stopwatch and clipboard and and that kind of stuff. The problem with that is, it takes a lot of time. If you want to gain insights from something like that, you have to spend like at least a week, 100% of your time a week on the floor to gather enough data points to where you have actionable insights. And a week is even short, but who has time to spend a whole week doing that?
Yeah, it's tough. None of that's easy, right? But now I would say easier through Xemelgo.
Yeah, that's a minimum requirement, an entire week of data.
Yeah.
But here, this would all accumulate automatically for you, and with much more data points. And then, when the data has more data points, it's more accurate.
Now, I had a friend years ago who was very resistant to a smartphone, just said, don't need it. I get by just fine without it. Don't need a smartphone. And I said, it will make your life easier. And then they finally decided to do the smartphone and said, you're 100% right. It made my life easier. And I'm guessing Xemelgo is the same way, right?
Yeah. When we were in our early lean training, there was one of the slides was about culture and people who resist change, and the acronym they used was there was the wait and seers, or the early adopters,
Oh yeah.
or the cave people, they call them, citizens against virtually everything. And so in each grouping of people, you're going to have a range of all those types of people, and that's part of change management, is helping humans to move on to the next phase.
Boy, that's so good. If you had advice for people who are listening to this that are in manufacturing that maybe have not taken that step, and I would like to say to adapt Xemelgo solutions or Industry 4.0 solutions, what would your advice be after what you've seen, what you've experienced?
How our product is made and how it deploys. It's I think someone else was saying this yesterday, is I think, yeah, Todd from Skills was saying,
Oh yeah.
when people talk about Industry 4.0, it just blows my mind. It makes me think, oh my gosh, this is complicated. This is expensive. I'll never understand it. We can't do this. But with our solution, it's so simple. I mean, this is something Paul Akers always says too, is make everything so simple it's like kindergarten. You want to kindergartenize everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we've approached it. And it's easy to start small and build, just like Legos. You start with a few, and it's not very expensive. And when you do find the value in it, then add some more Legos, add some more, and then the thing can build and scale as you grow and learn more about this kind of stuff.
Mark, I think it's fair to say that manufacturing is continuing to become more high tech.
Absolutely.
You guys are at the very leading edge of that, and I think what you're doing is marvelous.
Thank you. And then what else they all say too is, younger generation, they all grew up with high tech and video games and electronic everything, and this is what they expect in the workplace. They don't want to come into a stopwatch and clipboard workplace and say, oh my gosh, this is my grandpa's manufacturing business. So this is helps with attracting talent as well.
In fact, I think they need to be thinking this way, is moving in the direction of digital solutions for your manufacturing floor is going to attract this new workforce. Absolutely. So Mark, one of the things I've heard people say that yes, Xemelgo is selling a solution. It is probably less expensive and it's probably more simple than you realize, and probably have a bigger impact than you realize. I mean, so in other words, you could talk yourself out of it, like the slide you showed with the people pushing the cart with the square wheels, right? You could be too busy to think I could do something better and easier. But I just wanted to I'm speaking for you a little bit, but even though we're representing Xemelgo and camps, and we have something to sell, so to speak. One thing I've been very impressed with camps members, like with Rich and Aquila and some of our other members, is their willingness to take off their company hat and put on their manufacturing problem solution hat. And I just wanted to kind of offer you, for people who are watching this, that Mark is somebody you can call. Mark is somebody you can reach, and he'll take off his Xemelgo hat and just talk to you about your manufacturing operations and talk about his experience. I mean, that's what I really like about this camps community.
Absolutely, I agree. I'm super happy to talk about any manufacturing or lean. I'm really passionate about lean and manufacturing as a whole. Yeah,
we're here to really help each other with better ideas. I think we get creative, we get innovative. You are part of probably one of the most innovative companies in the entire Northwest, or maybe in the US even right now. You guys are so innovative.
Yeah, and I love this campus community too. I'm not sure how many other communities have this kind of thing. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn a lot and I see some, but not that many. And I think
This
it's
is
really
rather
valuable.
unique.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mark, I agree. This is unique, and we're getting to know each other better, and we're interacting more, and as friends and people who have a common interest in advancing and growing the success of manufacturing here. And so, yeah, I recommend for people to get to know camps, get to know Mark, get to know Xemelgo. It'll be to your benefit.
sharing best practices is a very good thing.
Well, I walked into a factory the other day. You were there with me, actually, and they were talking about a new thing that they were doing with their employees in their cross training. But we had just featured that in one of our other events, and he said, "Yeah, that's where I learned it. I learned it from this other company." So that's what we do, is we learn from each other and improve faster, if you will.
That's exactly what we want to do, is to lift each other up as a
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, it's working. We're seeing it every day. It's we're all getting better. We're all I think we're going to continue to see manufacturing grow and expand in Washington State dramatically because of this community, because of this attitude.
The rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes, it really does. We are better off together. So, Mark, I want to thank you for this time. Thank you for your presentation, and I hope the people who watch this will reach out to you and continue to learn from you. So, thank you for sharing today.
Thank you very much, Kurt.